Hello. You know what sucks? Oh, here it is. Okay, I got me a thumbnail. It's so cool. There we go. Come on in. Yes, I have a video that I would love for you guys to see. It's not going to take long, and then maybe an hour, then I'll let you lovely people go. Yes, 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 yes. Oh my God, did you see my video with the shoe, with the gum on my shoe? It's hilarious. Come on in. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Dum, 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 dum. Whose war is this? Did you see the gum on the shoe? I thought it was hilarious too. I thought it would be perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Guess who I got it from? Luna's Blade. I got it from Luna's Blade.
She's a mom, so.
Okay, so give me 2 more minutes. I'm going to get started with the video and we'll get into it. Let me pull it up. Oh my goodness. Wasn't that a trip? The shoe with the gum. Oh, hilarious. Hilarious. Okay, let's see here. Here we go. I'm pulling it up. Lisa, oh my God. Too funny. Hilarious. Hilarious. Okay, here it is. This is Secular Talk. He's really good. My husband listens to him. And he just tells it like it is. So he has some breaking news for us. Let's see what he has.
All right, guys, we have a bunch of major breaking news about the war here to share with you on this Saturday, and it is not pretty. Day by day, this thing spirals more and more out of control, and it looks absolutely terrifying. Of course, we're referring to it as the Jeffrey Epstein war, and Israel and the U.S. together are the axis of Epstein. Let me break this down for you. So let's start with this right here. Breaking via NBC News, Trump has privately shown serious interest in U.S. ground troops in Iran. Serious interest. So as we reported yesterday, there apparently there was this military exercise, these war games that a particular brigade was supposed to do, and that was called off. And people are now looking at that as proof that, oh my God, they're about to deploy imminently to Iran now. Okay. Now, by the way, let me point out the airstrikes alone were illegal and unconstitutional under U.S. law and the U.S. Constitution. And this, deploying ground troops, would be immensely illegal and unconstitutional in a world that made sense. In a stable, secure, intelligent world that made sense, Trump would be instantly impeached over sending boots on the ground. Okay, this is completely and utterly unacceptable. He's rendered Congress useless, null and void, basically non-existent. Okay, this is insanity. So we have that. We also have this. Mike Preisner says the following. I just spoke with the mother of a service member in this unit. They were given one last call home before having to turn in their phones. He told his mom they were going boots on the ground under U.S. law and the U.S. Constitution. And this, deploying ground troops, would be immensely illegal and unconstitutional in a world that made sense. In a stable, secure, intelligent world that made sense, Trump would be instantly impeached over sending boots on the ground. Okay, this is completely and utterly unacceptable. He's rendered Congress.
Wow, he wants. Mom! Hold on, sweetheart.
Mommy!
Sorry about that, guys. Not under the War Power Act of 1973. Okay.
Useless, null and void, basically non-existent. Okay, this is insanity. So we have that. We also have this. Mike Preisner says the following. I just spoke with the mother of a service member in this unit. They were given one last call home before having to turn in their phones. He told his mom they were going boots on the ground tonight.
What?
So here's what he posted. In reality, some of us won't make it home to our family. America, pray for us. So again, it looks like they're mobilizing right now and lying to us about it.
Oh, get out of Dodge. You've been lying to us about it. Oh, that is sucker Doolittle. You're lying to us about it and saying that you're not putting people on the ground, boots on the ground, and you are doing that behind our backs. God. These servicemen are concerned about their life. This is serious.
Lying to us. By the way, we also have reason to believe they're lying about the number of U.S. casualties. They're lying about many different aspects of this. Basically, almost no information is coming out of Israel and Tel Aviv in terms of the damage that Iran is doing there. Okay? And then Trump goes out there day after day and says, the war's going great. The war's going amazing. We give ourselves a 15 out of 10. It's the great.
15 out of 10. What are we talking about here? The war is going great. No war is great. Wow, that is so horrible, Debbie. We're going into war. Hello, Loretta. It's so good to see you, sweetheart. Yes, and they're lying to us. They're telling us, no, nobody's mobilizing. Yeah, they're telling us stories. But Secular Talk has the 411. That's right, Chenoa. Send your people to the front line. This is crazy.
Greatest thing we've ever done. Meanwhile, the bits and pieces we are learning are devastating. All right, let me show you this. Just in, USS George H.W. Bush is deploying to the Eastern Mediterranean. This will be the third carrier strike group in the region. So now they're sending another massive U.S. warship to the region. You don't do that unless you think things are going pretty fucking poorly. Again, we'll get to some more of the details in a little bit, but our radar systems are absolutely cooked. They're barbecue chicken. The Iranians took out our radar systems. That's a huge fucking deal. We're flying blind, as they call it right now. Never mind, the airports that have been hit. Never mind the U.S. military bases that are now burnt to a crisp. They weren't ready for this. They weren't prepared for this. I think Trump is dumb enough to think it would have been like a Venezuela in-out operation. And here we are. Now we're boots on the ground, illegally boots on the ground. Absolute insanity. All right, how about this one? Trump and Rubio just went around Congress to give Israel 12,000 1,000-pound bombs. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this as clearly as I can. That is not to go after the bad guys. You don't drop 1,000-pound bombs to go after the bad guys. That's about massacring civilians and destroying civilian infrastructure. That's what that is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. These sorts of bombs were specifically not used when the U.S. did war in Iraq because they said, we're just going to get too many civilians. We can't actually use these. And then here we are now, illegally sending 12,000 of these 1,000-pound bombs to Israel because the goal is the utter destruction of Iran. That's the goal. They want to make it a failed state so Israel can become a regional superpower and have zero pushback against it, and then eventually become a global superpower. But here we go again. Endless money, endless weapons to Israel. Meanwhile, people in this country, they can't afford their fucking health care. They're losing their Medicaid. They can't pay their health care premium. Inflation's going up. Unemployment's going up. The economy is cooked. People are struggling. People are begging for help. And what's the government doing? Sending 12,000 1,000-pound bombs to Israel illegally for them to do another genocide. They already did the Gaza model in Gaza. Now they're doing the Gaza model in Iran. All right, more. We also have this. So we've heard 6, 7, 8 different, reasons as to why they did this war. Now we got a new one that they just trotted out. Listen to this.
This is a long-term gain because what we want to do is get such massive oil reserves in Iran out of the hands of terrorists. Mm-hmm. And so what we're going to experience here in the short term is highly outweighed of the long-term benefit, because ultimately we're not going to have to worry about these issues in the Strait of Hormuz because we're going to get all of the oil out of the hands of terrorists.
They're breaking out the golden oldies here, y'all. They're saying it's to steal the oil. That's the point, is to steal the oil, just like the Iraq war was to steal the oil, just like we bombed Syria to steal the oil. They're trying to steal the oil. So the end goal is basically loot and pillage Iran, steal their natural resources for the Epstein class, and then also turn it into a failed state so that Israel can create a greater Israel in the region. That's what we're looking at. We also have the Epstein blackmail being held over Trump's head. You're going to do that regime change or the video comes out of you having sex with an underage girl. Okay, that's also going on. Plus, the religious psychopaths, the Mike Huckabee types, the Pete Hegseth types, who think this is going to usher in, the rapture and Armageddon and Jesus coming back on a winged horse. We're dealing with absolute crazy people here. Christian Taliban, Jewish Taliban. That's what we're looking at. All right, let me give you some more. Trump spoke to CNN's Dana Bash on the phone and told her that liberating the Iranian people is not a goal of the war. So again, we're done with the fake cover stories, the freedom and liberty and democracy, and that's why we're doing this. We're spreading the proper values around the world. Now we get this instead.
Delcy Rodriguez, and he said she's doing a very good job. I said, well, would you be okay with a religious leader in Iran? And he said the answer is yes. It doesn't necessarily have to be a democratic leader in Iran. It just has to be somebody who treats the U.S. and Israel fairly.
So let me decode that for you. Again, let the Epstein class loot and pillage and steal all your natural resources. And then outside of that, we want you to be a failed state. And then we're good. To all the people in the Iranian diaspora who were celebrating and dancing in the streets when the Grand Ayatollah was taken out, how do you feel now? How do you feel now that the fucking goal is to carpet bomb innocent people, carpet bomb your family members, and destroy Iran completely? How could you trust these absolute fucking depraved snakes to do anything for the people? We also have this. Trump posted this. This is terrifying, okay? He says, Iran, which is being beat to hell, has apologized and surrendered to its Middle East neighbors and promised that it will not shoot at them anymore. We're celebrating and dancing in the streets when the Grand Ayatollah was taken out. How do you feel now? How do you feel now that the fucking goal is to carpet bomb innocent innocent people, carpet bomb your family members, and destroy Iran completely. How could you trust these absolute fucking depraved snakes to do anything for the people? We also have this. Trump posted this. This is terrifying, okay? He says, Iran, which is being beat to hell, has apologized and surrendered to its Middle East neighbors and promised that it will not shoot at them anymore. This promise was only made because of the relentless U.S. and Israeli attack. They were looking to take over and rule the Middle East. By the way, that is total projection because that's what Israel is doing. More. It is the first time that Iran has ever lost in thousands of years to surrounding Middle Eastern countries. They have said, thank you, President Trump. Trump is saying that he thanked them for bombing them and starting war and taking out their leader. Oh my God, this is the most preposterous, absurd lie I've ever heard. I have said, you're welcome. Iran is no longer the bully of the Middle East. They are instead the loser of the Middle East and will be for many decades until they surrender or more likely completely collapse. Oh, so again, he's saying we want a failed state. Today, Iran will be hit very hard under serious consideration for complete destruction and certain death. Because of Iran's bad behavior, are areas and groups of people that were not considered for targeting up until this moment. Do you understand what he's saying? You guys are now targeted for complete destruction and certain death. That alone is it sounds like a comic book villain talking. It sounds like, the reincarnation of Adolf Hitler talking, because that's what Trump and Netanyahu are, by the way. But then he says,
it sounds like Superman turned evil and now they're coming for us. I mean, doesn't it sound like that, Shanoa? Like, whoa. It sounds like they're coming after us. That's what it sounds like.
There's now areas and groups of people that were not considered for targeting up until this moment that they're going to target.
Targeting them.
To me, that sounds like a nuclear threat. He just did a nuclear threat.
Yes.
The other day on Live Social. Now it sounds like he's doing another nuclear threat right here. And on that exact point, let me show you this. Israel has called on residents to evacuate the area near Iran's Fordo nuclear facility. That's the nuclear facility that's under the
evacuate. Woo!
Ground that they hit last time. Okay. The New York Times reports. The warning applies to civilians living near the city of Qom, located about 16 kilometers from Fordo.
Evacuate.
So as this person points out, wait, are they about to nuke Fordo? Why would people 16 kilometers away need to evacuate if the strikes are so precise? Israel does not have a conventional weapon that can dig that deep. Only the U.S. can deliver something like the GBU-57, which clearly failed last time. If it is the U.S., why would the U.S. not be the one issuing the warning? How would people in Iran even get that message with the internet down? Why is the New York Times the messenger? Ladies and gentlemen, these are unprecedented times, and these are terrifying times. We're now looking at a situation where there's been at least 3 different signals that they may indeed nuke Iran.
This is scary.
I absolutely do not put that by the axis of Epstein. The axis of Epstein is completely and utterly depraved. We also have this from Trump. Trump had a meeting with defense contractors at the White House.
Debbie,
and in this post, he basically says they're going to quadruple their output and build more weapons and build more missiles. They're working on it right now. And he also goes, but we're not short on them. We can go forever and it's totally fine and we don't need them at all, but they're quadrupling the output. That's what you do. You rush a meeting and talk about quadrupling output when you're not running out, okay? I'm sure of that. But then as this person points out, there's a line in here from Trump. Quote, expansion began 3 months before the meeting. Oh, did it? Oh, did it? Do you realize that you're now admitting that you were planning this during the so-called negotiations you were doing?
Oh my goodness, the revelations that keeps coming out of this gentleman's mouth. Oh, Herman, you know that he's not the greatest president in history. You know that he's not. And for these reasons right here, get out of denial. A whole war. And still the greatest. No. Never will be. Never. Ever. That ain't happening. Right. So hence, Penny, we need to be careful where we drop a nuke so we won't mess up the oil situation that we're trying to take from Iran. Wow. Yeah, June, I don't think so. I don't think he is anything great. Wow. Run. All because Trump doesn't want him and his rich buddies to go down for the sick things they did to those children on the Epstein Island. Oh, yeah, they're trying to sweep that under the rugadoo. That's the sweepadoo. You never know. How do you know? We said we would never be doing this, but we're doing it. We're doing it.
Negotiations were a lie. They were a ruse. Israel and the U.S. never considered peace. They were always going to do the war. You have Netanyahu admitting in Hebrew, I yearned to do this for 40 years. That's a direct quote. I yearned to do this for 40 years. So in other words, there were no terms that the U.S. and Israel would accept. We are the baddies. We are the aggressors. We are going on the offense here. In fact, Iran agreed to the strictest terms when it came to uranium enrichment a couple hours before they were attacked. So that, again, we should be talking about impeachment. We should be talking about removal. We should be talking about indicting, arresting, and convicting. It is so crazy how far we've let this go, man. They're broadcasting to the world that we never wanted peace. We never cared about peace. We were planning for this war when we were telling all you idiots that we were in the middle of negotiating. Just absolutely, positively grotesque. Now, let's talk a little bit about the incompetence, because the incompetence is immense. So the Financial Times says the following: depleted oil reserve leaves U.S. exposed as Iran war pushes up prices. So Philip Pilkington says the following: the Trump administration forgot to refill its strategic petroleum reserve before launching total war in the Middle East. A slight oversight. Oh my God, bro. That's the craziest thing. You're launching a war against Iran, who can shut down the Strait of Hormuz and destroy the global oil market and lead to massive price shocks. Okay. You didn't even realize I need to refill our strategic petroleum reserve? You didn't even realize that? Oh my God, they're so stupid. I've told you guys 1,000 times. Trump is either the dumbest man on the earth or he's a literal Manchurian candidate. Because with stuff like this, you got to be like an op, right? You got to be like a foreign agent purposely sent here to destroy this country, because nobody can be this stupid. You know how the saying goes, like, oh, they're playing chess, we're playing checkers. Bitch, we're not even playing checkers. We're playing sit in the corner, roll our poop up into little balls and eat it. Other people are playing checkers and chess. We're over here in the corner eating our feces. That's how fucking incompetent and stupid this government is. But who could be surprised? Trump's like the dumbest man to ever be in the White House by far. It's not even close. And who's going to make all the intelligent decisions? Secretary of War Crimes, Pete Kegsbreth, the guy who was out there screaming, kill all Muslims, a drunk rapist, right? Like, what are we talking about here? All right. Let me also give you this. Al Jazeera English says, breaking, Iran's Interim Leadership Council has approved that neighboring countries will no longer be attacked unless an attack on Iran originates from them. President Masoud Pezeshkian has said. So this is very strategic. This is an attempt at divide and conquer. This is what this is. This is brilliant strategically. Destroy all U.S. assets in neighboring countries, punish those countries for their cooperation with war criminals, watch those countries realize the U.S. is not a good ally as it does nothing to help them, make them feel the pain of their bad decisions so they're reluctant to repeat them, and then offer them peace, stability, and an end to their suffering, provided they do not permit U.S. presence again. I think that's exactly what's happening here. Let's try to break up the Gulf Arab countries from the U.S. And they're already pissed. The Gulf Arab countries are already pissed. On day one of the war, they said, why is the U.S. only protecting Israel? I don't understand. Like, they're leaving us. We're sitting ducks here and we're getting lit the fuck up. They're not protecting us. Yes, because you got in bed with a snake. You got in bed with fucking Donald J. Trump. You think he's good to his word? Like, he's the biggest scumbag on the planet. You can't be surprised. So I think that's exactly what's going on here from the president of Iran. However, having said that, there's an internal power struggle going on right now. And when this guy said this, other factions of the Iranian government came out and said, we're not abiding by that. We're still going to fucking attack. So this is what happens. If the U.S. should have never started this war, because when the power got decentralized in Iran, now there's nobody to even make a deal with. They're just going to keep fighting. You fucked up. You fucked up hard, okay? This is crazy. We have a video here. Iran strikes Dubai International Airport, one of the busiest airports in the world. Watch this.
Straight to the airport.
Oh,
Damn.
Straight to the aircraft.
Damn. Okay. That's a big deal.
wow.
So as you all know, the oil market is fucked. You have a lot of these countries are just shutting down their liquid natural gas production, their oil production, etc. Right? And then now tourism is cooked. And this place, like, they're supposed to be stable and secure and like a playground for the top 1%. And now nobody's going to want to go to these places. All right. But we also have this. So Mint Press News is reporting breaking Hezbollah downs an Israeli helicopter in Lebanon. Hezbollah has downed an Israeli helicopter. Let's watch. There it is coming down there. Now, by the way, let me point out, it's hard to get good information because Israel is completely censoring what's going on. They're not showing any of the damage in Tel Aviv, even though we're getting reports that Tel Aviv is getting absolutely hammered. And now we have an IDF helicopter potentially going down here. All right, let me give you more. Iranian Boeing 747 bombed at Mehrabad Airport. That's, I believe, the biggest airport in Tehran. And Israel and America are now bombing passenger planes. Here's a picture of exactly that, a passenger plane on fire. As I pointed out to you guys, this thing has completely and utterly spiraled out of control time and time again. Now let's get to this. We have retired U.S. Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson says Americans are being lied to about the war and claims Israel is being heavily hit by Iranian missiles. Watch.
I saw a video this morning, real video, not CNN, though they have been better, but real video out of Israel. They are getting absolutely pummeled.
That was to be my next question. How badly is Israel getting pummeled? And where is Netanyahu?
I think he's on a plane 90% of the time. He's flying around the Mediterranean. I understood he was on a private jet coming into Mar-a-Lago to talk to Trump. I don't know if that's true or not, but my source is pretty good. He's staying out of the fray as best he can because he knows that he is number one target.
How badly are the Iranians damaging Tel Aviv?
Very badly, very badly. And it is relentless. It's not a fuselage. It's relentless. And increasingly, and in the latter stages of this 15-minute video, you could see that fewer and fewer air defense missiles were going up. And at the end of it, in the last 60 seconds, which is a long time, Judge, if you're under fire, there were no Israeli missiles going up. The Iranian missiles were just getting in.
Wow. Well,
it's all being lied about, of course. You can't get this out. You can't even get it out of Al Jazeera or Al Arabiya. They're not allowed to film this sort of thing because he's got a wrapped down tight ban on anybody coming in there and making film other than his own propaganda.
So Iron Dome is failing. It's failing all the time now. You also have U.S. radar was taken out by Iran. So we're also flying blind. You used to get 30 minutes of warning before a missile hit. Now you get like a minute or two before it hits. All right. Middle East Eye says the following. There's a list of 28 different civilian sites in Iran hit by U.S.-Israeli strikes. And you guys can go through this and read all these here. But you have a whole bunch of schools that are being hit. A whole bunch of schools, elementary schools, a kindergarten, a middle school. You have a list of hospitals, Gandhi Hospital, Red Crescent Hospital, Abu Zar Hospital, emergency centers. You have a neonatal care center was hit. Heart Hospital was hit. And it goes on. Residential areas that are also hit. And it goes down listing how many people died at each one of these places. You have countless residential complexes, residential homes, residential areas being hit. Just horrific. Then you have historical and cultural sites that are also being hit. So this is, look, understand what they're doing here is exactly what ISIS does, and it's exactly what the Nazis did. They're going after all of civil society. They're going after history. They're trying to like wipe the slate clean and rewrite history in their image. The Israelis are trying to do. And what they want is that greater Israel. And they will do anything and everything to take every other regional player off the board. And Iran was the biggest of those regional players. And that's why they went after them so aggressively.
I want to thank everybody in the chat for being here and hanging out. Hello and welcome. Even though I haven't said your name, BB, hello, Colette. I believe Call. Just in. Hello. Hello, welcome. My husband sent me this video. It's very shocking that this is going on, and they're telling us one thing, and we're seeing another. No, Rebecca, I don't think so. And I need to seek Jesus. Oh, okay.
All right, drop site. New explosion shake Tehran on Saturday morning. Explosion shook western Tehran early Saturday, sending plumes of smoke over the capital as Israel launched a broad wave of strikes and Iran fired new retaliatory missiles towards Israel. With U.S. officials warning the largest bombing campaign of the war is still to come, the Associated Press reported. Let's take a look at this video here.
Look at
Oh,
that.
my goodness. Wow.
That's crazy.
Slate clean and rewrite history in their image. Early Saturday, sending plumes of smoke over the capital as Israel launched a broad wave of strikes and Iran fired new retaliatory missiles towards Israel. With U.S. officials warning the largest bombing campaign of the war is still to come, the Associated Press reported. Let's take a look at this video here. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Oh.
Jesus Christ, man.
That's
Just insane to watch this stuff.
crazy. Can you imagine being one of those gentlemen on the looking in from the outside? Can you imagine videotaping that from your house? Imagine it, a videotaping that from your house. That's some serious situation. Hello, DeLove. Hello, Chris. Hello, Pickles. Hello, Fluffy. BB, Call, Loretta. Some of your comments I will delete.
Former CIA analyst Larry Johnson says the American public is being lied to about the war's progress. Iran has destroyed 5 advanced U.S. radars, 2 worth $1 billion each, and 3 THAAD batteries, about 30% of America's global supply. Roughly $4 billion in radar systems lost in a week. In a week, the naval facility in Bahrain is essentially destroyed. U.S. air defenses are now largely blind. Warning time for incoming strikes dropped from 30 minutes to about 1 minute. Iran now has support from Russia and China in ways it did not even last June. The United States keeps choosing military force over diplomacy. This conflict, Johnson warns, could escalate into a broader global war. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, World War III. Think of all those posts from all the MAGA idiots, the regime idiots, who are saying, Kamala's going to get us in World War III. And now here the fuck we...
War III. That's what BB said. That's where we're at. That's where we're headed. But we're in denial. Get out of denial. This is what's really going on. The media in the U.S. and Trump are trying to gaslight the people into believing U.S. and Israel are winning when in fact they're getting destroyed. Exactly. Okay, I'm just in the chat, guys. Okay, here I come.
We are with Donald J. Trump. All right. Note, the U.S. only has 8 THAAD systems globally, including in South Korea and Guam. The batteries cost about $1 billion each. That's half the U.S.'s THAADs obliterated in 1 week. Here are the confirmation of the 4 THAAD systems taken out by Iran, and then they have it exactly here, so you can see that. Just absolutely incredible. Taking big, fat, juicy L's against Iran. Making it, by the way, China is sitting there salivating, going, they're not even, America's not even like competition to us when it comes to global domination at this point. I mean, they're cooked. They're outdated. It's
Debbie, they were not cheering. Stop that. You know that though they were not cheering, they were like, oh, ooh, oh my God. That's what I heard. I did not hear any cheers. No. You said that about that other situation, that they were cheering when they took that president. No, we're not cheering. This isn't cheers. This is what the hell is going on. No, ain't nobody cheering. No, he didn't, Chris. This is good.
It's literally like imperial hubris and arrogance that made it. So we rested on our laurels. We spent $1 quadrillion on our fucking military. And at the end of the day, we're getting lit up by a bunch of $20,000 drones, one-way drones that Iran is using to destroy everything, all of our equipment in the region. It's absolutely astonishing to watch, man. It's like a David versus Goliath type situation. So let me break this down for you. This is an interesting post. Trump has 3 options left on Iran. All of them are terrible. Okay. Option 1, declare victory and retreat. The U.S. loses the Middle East forever. Israel's days become numbered. Iran rebuilds and comes back stronger. America looks weak to every adversary on earth, and Trump's legacy equals another Afghanistan. Option 2, boots on the ground. This is what it looks like they're doing, by the way. Massive American casualties guaranteed. Iran is the size of Alaska, 90 million people, all mountains. The U.S. couldn't beat the Taliban in 20 years with full NATO support. Iranian drones are shredding conventional military strategy, and a new generation of Iranian commanders are smarter than the ones killed. No exit strategy, none. And then option 3, nuclear weapons. The moment a nuke hits Iran, the entire world turns against America. Russia and China enter the chat immediately. Pakistan, Iran's nuclear neighbor, retaliates. Radiation poisons the entire region, including Israel. The MAD protocol is activated. Civilization is at stake. None of these things are good. None of these things are acceptable. The least bad scenario is Trump just declares victory and retreats and holds a big fat juicy L while he, basically is his own biggest cheerleader and says, actually, it went amazing. Actually, it went incredible. But at this point, I don't even know how you can pull that off when, again, the power in Iran is decentralized. There's nobody you can make a deal with, so they can keep attacking even while
he went in there and stole the Venezuela president and his wife, took them out their bed and kidnapped them. I thought that was the most, I just said, wow. Is that what we doing now?
you're getting the fuck out of Dodge. Okay? So, man, look, it's one of those moments where, like, I don't want to do the, hey, I told you so and rub it in everybody's face, but I did tell you so, and I did rub it in everybody's face that, like, this guy he's every negative quality you can think of. This man embodies those qualities. He's a malignant narcissist. He's greedy. He's fucking short-sighted. He's stupid. He's sadistic. He's every negative thing, which is why we said you cannot fucking elect him. You cannot put him back in the White House. And here we are. Here's what it looks like when there's no guardrails, when nobody can check him, when he hires a bunch of little fucking sycophants who coddle his ball sack every day. This is where we end up. All right, more. This is from the Daily Mail. The White House is blocking the FBI and top U.S. intelligence agencies from warning law enforcement across the country about new terror threats to the homeland tied to the war with Iran. So Trump doesn't want this getting out there because he doesn't want his approval rating to get hit worse than it already has been. There was one the other day, 35% he's already at. Like I said, he's going to be in the 20s at some point, sooner rather than later. That's what we're looking at. But he's desperately trying to protect his image, right? And then the other thing is, I've speculated about it. Many people have speculated about it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a massive false flag attack in this country that they turn around and blame on Iran to try to build more public will for this war, which right now is polling also at like 35%. Okay? Like, that's the thing. They know they need to build public support. They didn't do a propaganda campaign strategy. And so now it's like they're going to probably try to do another 9/11. And who would be involved in that 9/11? Potentially the U.S., potentially Israel, literally anything and everything to try to justify and sell this war to the American people. And by the way, there's already evidence that it was Israel who did certain attacks that crossed lines. Okay, so when the Saudi Aramco facility was hit, originally people thought that was, debris from, an interceptor that hit Aramco and made it catch on fire. But now the speculation is Iran came out and said, we didn't fire shit at Saudi Aramco's facility because we attack their oil. We go to the heart of their oil, they're going to come after ours. And then we know, like, we're all Fucksville, right? And so they said, we didn't do that. That's what Iran said. And so people go, okay, well, who the fuck did it? Israel did it to try to make it so that the Gulf Arab countries join the war effort more aggressively against Iran. So Israel does it, then they go, can you believe Iran attacked you? Now you have to come fight with us. We have to have a united front. That's what people are talking about now, bro. And now you have 18 intelligence agencies going, yeah, the terror threat is going up and up and up, right? And like, Trump's like, hide that shit, don't say anything. So either they want a motherfucking false flag attack, or Trump is trying to protect his approval rating, or it's a mix of both of those things, okay? But I still have more. Secretary of Defense Pete Kegsbreath, the Secretary of War Crimes, Pete Kegsbreath, said the following about U.S. troops dying. Listen very closely to this. Quote, when a few drones get through or tragic things happen, it's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad. So he's saying about U.S. soldiers being murked. He's saying to the press, like, why are you even putting this front and center? Like, what, are you just trying to make Trump look bad? So clearly the posture is, we don't want it getting out there that American troops are dying. We don't want it getting out there. And then, as Polling USA points out, I completely believe they're lying to us about how many U.S. soldiers have been killed so far. Ooh. By the way, there's also unverified rumors that are floating around out there.
Word on the curb is they're lying to us on how many U.S. soldiers have been killed, unalived in this war. Okay. Yep, Venezuela was for the oil. That's right, Chris. I agree with you 100%. I believe that 100%, Bailey. Yes. Like the video, guys. As a child, I was taught to vote straight ticket Democrat, so vote straight ticket Republican, non-fixing, non-rigging, non-tampering. You know, go with who you want to go with, personal. I'm trying to keep up with the chat. It's going pretty fast.
That they're rapidly hiring people to go through the personal belongings of the troops that are being killed, because the actual number is much higher. As I told you, on day like 3 of the war, Iran came out and said, we killed and injured about 540 Americans so far. That's what Iran said. Now we're saying it's only 6 here in the U.S. Now, my guess is the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? But either way, we're being lied to, and this is the Secretary.
So which is it? Like, is it, which number is it? Why are they lying to us? Tell us the truth. Right, Loretta? Right, Call? The love. As an Australian, I feel like Trump actually hates y'all. He doesn't care about any of you. He don't. Not even the mega people. He don't care about you guys. He doesn't care about his own people. Somebody wrote that president was the greatest president to ever exist. if you agree for this. If you don't, say I don't. How do you know, Call? Because Debbie does like Donald Trump. She's a big defender of his.
Of war crimes, basically saying, like, hey, why are you even running this stuff front page? Why are you talking about U.S. soldiers who were murdered? Trying to hide it. They're trying to hide it. They're lying about fucking everything. More. A Clash report says, a classified U.S. intelligence report says even a large U.S. military assault on Iran would likely not topple the regime. The report also concludes that Iran's fragmented opposition is unlikely to take control, meaning U.S. plans to remove the regime and install a new leader would face major obstacles. Experts say Iran's ruling system is built to survive crises and resist outside pressure, and there is currently little sign of a mass uprising inside the country. So this is from the Washington Post. The title is Intel Report Warns Large-Scale War Unlikely to Oust Iran's Regime. But like I pointed out to you guys before, don't get too lost in this, because the fact of the matter is they want Iran to be a failed state. Trump does want, a U.S. puppet, a figurehead that could just let him and the Epstein class loot and pillage Iran and steal their natural resources. Of course, he wants that. But the most important thing to Israel is total failed state for Iran. Let's do the Gaza model. Let's do another genocide. At the same time, they're doing a genocide now in Lebanon as well and stealing all of South Lebanon right in front of our eyes. Okay? Never mind the pogroms that are happening on a regular basis in the West Bank.
Debbie.
We are living through history. We are watching the U.S. and Israel. They're creating the Fourth Reich. That's what we're witnessing. And this is the axis of Epstein right in front of our eyes. All right, Haaretz says the following. IDF says it can't guarantee it will send alert for missile before siren sound. In other words, further verification and validation. Iron Dome is cooked. Our missile warning systems are cooked. Our radar was taken out, not just the U.S., but also in Israel. So I'm telling you, Iran is punching above its weight class right now. That's what's happening. All right, Sprinter Press says the following. You'll definitely never see this in the news on Fox News and CNN. The United States lost about $2 billion worth of military equipment in the first 4 days of its attack on Iran. According to reports, those losses include damaged radar systems, destroyed fighter jets, and lost communication equipment. And then it says right here, I'll click on this for you, U.S.-Israeli attacks and Iran's retaliations damage U.S. facilities. So you got the Erbil base, the Kuwait camp, the Kuwait U.S. Embassy, Kuwait Air Base, another Kuwait camp, Riyadh U.S. Embassy, Qatar base, Bahrain U.S. Fifth Fleet, cooked over there, UAE, another thing in Dubai, like just a whole bunch. They say about $2 billion total worth of U.S. losses just within the first few days. All right, the other day we discussed this war is costing about $11,500 per second, $11,500, about $1 billion a day. Well, now we get this. $41.6 million an hour. As of this morning, it was $7.3 billion already spent, y'all. Already spent. Think about what that money could go towards here at home. Think about how many people need help. Think about how much the working class is struggling right now. And instead, we're blowing up a bunch of innocent brown people overseas. Iran Observer says the following. Breaking. The U.S. has struck a freshwater desalination plant. Iranian foreign minister just warned of consequences. For example, 70% of the UAE's total water demands are met through desalination. Now, I will say, as soon as I saw this, I immediately tried to do a deeper search on it because this is a huge claim that they're making here. And I wasn't able to find much. I was able to find, stuff discussing how it's on the table. It's a possibility. But I haven't seen much from reputable sources verifying this, okay? So this one has a little asterisk by it. This one has a little grain of salt. I'm not totally sure this one is true yet. But I will say, it's already very scary, the fact that we're even talking about it, the fact that this is potentially on the table. And, we haven't even gotten to the point. Iran hasn't even decided yet we're going to go bomb oil fields or oil rigs and really try to wipe out the global oil market completely, right? Just shutting down the Strait of Hormuz is one thing. That would be an escalation. The other thing that people are pointing to as if Iran really feels like it's a wrap and we're going to be donezo here, they could do that. And the other thing they could do is bomb desalination plants all across the Middle East, rendering it uninhabitable literally that week. everybody in the Middle East would have to leave, everybody, if you bomb the desalination plants, because there's just not enough water there for all the people that live there. So this is what we're playing with, y'all. We're playing with World War III if we're not already in it.
Ooh.
And stuff like that. Okay.
Isn't that scary?
And
every time he says that, I shake. War, the war situation. And BB said it as well. Like, is that what we're looking at? Call Debbie, the love, Cece, Shanoa. Are we looking at war? I've side-eyed Trump since years ago. In an interview, he said he would marry Ivanka if she wasn't his daughter. Who says that about their own child? Woo! And guess what, Debbie Campbell? Do you know why you're on missiles? Okay. Sounds like Carl and Debbie have a conversation going on. I don't want to interrupt. The U.S. is scrambling to get more weapons overseas as we speak. It looks like, Mom, that they did send some troops, according to Skylar Talks.
And the people who are making the decisions are like the dumbest fucking people on planet Earth. All right. This is a big deal also. So the Wall Street Journal says the following. To help make the case on Iran, Lindsey Graham traveled several times to Israel in recent weeks, meeting with members of the country's intelligence agency, Mossad. Quote, they'll tell me things our government won't tell me, he said. He spoke with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, coaching him on how to lobby the president for action. Netanyahu showed the president intelligence that persuaded Trump to go ahead, Graham said. So Lindsey Graham was working for Israel and working for Mossad and desperately trying to pitch this war to Trump. And remember, one of the things Trump said is, well, I got them before they got me. Remember they tried to kill me twice? That's a total Mossad lie. That is a lie that they tried to use to fucking convince him to go to war in the same way that George W. Bush said, the reason I went after Saddam is because he tried to kill my daddy, George H.W. Bush. It's a very similar thing. So it was a full court press, and Lindsey Graham is working more for Israel than he is for the U.S. To me, this is treason. To me, this is treason. This man should be arrested. This man should be arrested. This is fucking unacceptable. And now look at the disaster that we're in. And then Lindsey Graham goes around saying, well, it's a holy war. Oh, is it? Did we all fucking sign up to die in the motherfucking rapture? To die in Armageddon? Because a bunch of idiots think Jesus is going to come back, which he's fucking not going to? Oh my God, bro. Oh my God. What are we doing? All right, look at this one here. American Israeli rhetoric is fueling radicalization. Hegseth, we must rebuild the third temple. Huckabee, it would be fine if Israel took the entire Middle East. Bennett, Turkey is the new Iran. Netanyahu, remember Amalek, which is the kill them all story of the Bible. And then Smotrich, Beirut suburbs will soon look like Gaza. So as Rula Jabril says here, in 4 days, Iran went from a limited operation, an imminent threat, to the Holy Crusade 2.0. In the middle of the holy month of Ramadan, 2 billion Muslims are told that the U.S. and Israel are waging a religious war against them. It's the Christian Taliban and the Jewish Taliban. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at. This is who these people are. And we already covered that story of, 110 U.S. soldiers reached out to the secular organization and said, my higher up in the military is literally euphoric. And he says, Jesus is going to come back and we're ushering in the holy war and we're doing Armageddon right now. Like, these people are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. They're gonzo mentally. They should be in a fucking straitjacket taking Thorazine instead of being military commanders. This is insane. Ro Khanna went on Breaking Points, and he said something very interesting about what comes next after the failure of the War Powers Resolution. We had 4 Democrats, 4 Diet MAGA Democrats, warmongering imperialist Democrats who took a tremendous amount of money from AIPAC, who flipped and voted with Republicans, and the War Powers Resolution narrowly failed. Now, having said that, Trump's war is still illegal. Okay, it is still illegal. That's super important for you to understand. So what action do we take from here? Ro Khanna explains. Listen.
Well, I have a question on that note, actually. I interviewed your colleague Thomas Massey the other day, who said he was toying around with the idea of actually introducing a declaration of war, which he would not vote for.
That's what they would need. To have this war be legal, they would need a declaration of war. And you could even make an argument, even if they get it, they needed to do it beforehand, right? So it would still be illegal. But at the very least, that's what they need is a declaration of war, right?
Of course. maybe Democrats who are using the War Powers Resolution as cover, and certainly Republicans to be on the record about where they stand on the war, to actually take a vote. Have the two of you talked about that? Is it something that you would seriously consider going forward?
It's a good idea. Actually, I haven't talked to him about that. We were talking more about the War Powers vote yesterday, about people should go on record on that. Lindsey Graham's view is we are in war, and it doesn't matter because the president can just go into war under Article 2, right? And, it would be good to put people on the record on that. But I also think it's important for the Democrats now not to talk about funding. Just like we're talking about no new funding for ICE, there should be no funding for the Iran supplemental.
That's exactly right. So, guys, I'm going to say this very clearly. Call your congressperson, call your senator, tell them, do not under any circumstances vote to fund Trump's illegal and offensive crusade against Iran, the Jeffrey Epstein war. Do not vote to fund the axis of Epstein. Do not under any circumstances fund this illegal and offensive war against a country that didn't attack us. Do not let them fucking fold. Because I remember during the Iraq war days, the Democrats came on.
Okay, come on. Guys, I got 22 likes and there's like 70 people watching. You guys can't hit the like button. Oh, that is just so rude. Can you also hit the subscribe button? Please. Can you also hit the subscribe button? Hit the like button. Hello? Can you guys please hit the like button? I have about 27 likes. There's 56 of you in here.
Under fire from Republicans when they said, oh, you hate our troops. That's why you're not voting to fund our troops. No, bitch, you hate our troops. You're sending them to die for no motherfucking reason in Iraq. And now you're doing the same thing, but with Iran. Okay? Don't fall for the smear tactics. Stand up, 10 toes down, puff your chest out, and say, we are not funding this illegal and offensive war. Call all of the Democratic congresspeople, call all of the senators, and make that point very, very clear that if they vote to fund this war, they're going to be primary. They're going to fucking lose. They're going to lose. We're coming for them. Okay. Speaking of the religious angle of this, so Code Pink caught up with a Republican politician here, Kramer, and listen to what they say.
Why are we at war with Iran? I find it confusing.
You are?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, there are several good reasons for us to take out Iran's nuclear capabilities. First of all, because they're willing to use it.
There was an Iran nuclear deal signed in 2015.
Yeah, thank God we got out of that. And remember, he agreed to a deal that allowed Iran to have a nuclear weapon.
That's a total fucking lie.
Thank God we intervened in that. And they were on their way.
By the way, these are Republicans. This is what they are now. They say things with 100% certitude and confidence that they're just 100% factually wrong on.
No, they weren't. And,
yeah, they were. Yeah, they were licensed to have to enrich to a level that would allow a nuclear weapon.
No,
that's a lie.
They weren't.
Debbie, are you calling the files a hoax? I don't think Debbie's calling the e-files, Epstein files fake. Hit that like button, guys. Okay, I'll type it in.
You know, the US Republicans kept saying they almost have a nuclear weapon. They almost have a nuclear weapon. It's not true. They don't have a nuclear weapon.
Why are they saying that they have a nuclear weapon when they don't have one? Why are they lying? Why do you guys think that is? Why are they saying they have a nuclear weapon when they don't? Did Lovely said we're living in the pits of hell right now. Trump is so gross. Causes still having a conversation with Debbie. I agree, Chris. Everybody needs to be removed and have a new slew of young, tender minds going up and running this country instead of us going backwards. I feel like we're going backwards instead of forwards.
Weapon. And I have one question.
Thank goodness they don't. And I
Does
think it's a
Israel
good
have
idea.
nuclear weapons?
By the way, they absolutely should have a nuclear weapon, then we wouldn't be in this situation. There literally wouldn't be a war in that situation. Look at Kim Jong-un in North Korea. I'm not saying he's a good leader. I'm not saying he's good to his own people. He's not. But there's nothing we could do to overthrow him and get us involved because he's got a nuclear weapon. So he has the ultimate deterrent, right? Iran doesn't have it. Now look at what they're going through. Iraq under Saddam Hussein didn't have weapons of mass destruction. Massive war, he got overthrown. Gaddafi in Libya gave up his weapons of mass destruction. He got overthrown and sodomized with a fucking bayonet on camera. The lesson to the world is you better get a nuke.
Listen, the United States and Israel are ironclad partners. We need them in the Middle East. We need them to be strong. We have a biblical responsibility to them as well as an allied responsibility. Israel, we should never sever that relationship.
Baby, where are you located? You didn't vote today? Was today the last day to vote? I voted. Armageddon. Oh my goodness, this is scary.
Particularly to the benefit of killers like Iran.
Biblical relationship. He said we have a biblical responsibility to Iran. Biblical. Could you imagine somebody, a U.S. politician cited the Bhagavad Gita for a policy decision? Or God forbid, Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib goes, well, we're doing this because it demands it in the Quran. Their reaction would be instant. Separation of church and state. These primitive, barbaric savages are bringing in ancient ideologies. This guy says it about the Bible. Nobody else will even fucking talk about it. Just absolutely disturbing. Now, at the same time that's going on, the economy is coming unglued. As you all know, we lost 92,000 jobs last quarter, last month, and they thought it was going to be a gain of 55,000. Lost 92,000. Okay, and we're just getting started. The market started to collapse. There's already a bunch of red flags that we're seeing. Take a look at this. Quote, the worst job numbers since the Great Recession, the slowest economic growth since COVID, and the worst inflation in nearly 2 years. These are not the signs of a healthy economy, and we haven't even talked about the oil yet, they say in The Atlantic. Wow. Trump, as all this is going on, and the world is falling apart, Trump gives a speech. He talking at this Latin America event, and here's some of his insane comments. Let's listen.
But we're working with you to do whatever we have to do. We'll use missiles. If you want us to use a missile, they're extremely accurate. Boom. Right into the living room.
First of all, his eyes are 90% closed. Second of all, look how he's casually describing murdering people.
Boom. Right into the living room. That's the end of that cartel person. But we'll do whatever you need if you want. A lot of countries don't want to do that. They say, oh, sure, I'd rather not.
Worst job numbers since the Great Recession, the slowest economic growth since COVID, and the worst inflation in nearly 2 years. These are not the signs of a healthy economy, and we haven't even talked about the oil yet, they say in The Atlantic. Wow. Trump, as all this is going on, and the world is falling apart, Trump gives a speech. He talking at this Latin America event, and here's some of his insane comments. Let's listen.
But we're working with you to do whatever we have to do. We'll use missiles. If you want us to use a missile, they're extremely accurate. Boom. Right into the living room.
First of all, his eyes are 90% closed. Second of all, look how he's casually describing murdering people.
Boom. Right into the living room. That's the end of that cartel person.
Wow.
But we'll do whatever you need if you want. A lot of countries don't want to do that. They say, oh, sure, I'd rather not have that. I'd rather not have. I believe they could be spoken to. I don't think so.
So understand what he's saying here. He's basically announcing at this event a new front on his global war. He's saying, we're going to go after the cartels all throughout Latin America. That's what we're going to do. Right to the living room. Phew, you get them with a missile. That's what you do. And he goes, some countries don't want us to do that. He's referencing Mexico, who said, don't fucking invade us and start bombing. We're a sovereign country, you asshole. So now he's announcing it. By the way, this is not hyperbole in any way, shape, or form. Look at this. The Guardian the other day, dismay as Hegseth urges Latin American allies to join offense against cartels. This is him saying, yeah, bitch, we're about to start bombing in your countries too. That's what he's saying. All right, more from this event. Here we go. Trump says the following.
They beg me for an endorsement. I give them an endorsement. They win by 30 points. And I get nothing. If I could sell that, is there a way? Do we have any of our legal people here? Little Marco's close enough. Is there a way I could get paid for that, Marco? I'd make a lot. They spend millions of dollars. And I give it for nothing. I could, even if I put it into the treasury of the United States, it would be pretty good, right, Marco?
So now, if you didn't catch that, he's hiding behind it being a joke. But as you know, with Trump, it starts out as a joke, then he does it, right? I should charge people for my endorsement in Republican primaries because they end up winning because of me. So why can't I get a piece of that? I want to get a piece of that. And then he does his classic, like, what if I give it back to the U.S. Treasury? That's his lie to then allow himself to do it and pretend like he's not breaking any law. This is a guy, by the way, who literally said, I'm going to sue the IRS for $10 billion. So stealing $10 billion from American taxpayers by suing his own regime. That's what that is. Taking another $10 billion and giving it to the Board of Peace, where it's in a slush fund and only he controls it. Just like he stole Venezuela's oil and took hundreds of millions of dollars and put it in a private bank account in Qatar that only he can access. This guy, it is a mafia. It is a cartel. He's running a criminal syndicate. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a president. This is a man who's looting and pillaging until his dying breath. That's what's going on. All right, we still have more from this event. This is where, so he's warmongering about Latin America. We're going to go in there. We're going to bomb. We're going to do more war. That's what we're going to do. And now he comes back to say the same thing about Cuba. Watch.
We're also looking forward to the great change that will soon be coming to Cuba. Cuba's at the end of the line. They're very much at the end of the line. They have no money. They have no oil. They have a bad philosophy. They have a bad regime that's been bad for a long time.
So understand, as of right now, Donald Trump is doing.
His name is Secular Talk. I'm going to put his link in the description. He's hot like this all the time.
Doing a medieval siege on Cuba. The power is now completely out for the entire island. They're basically starving the entire island to death. They're starving the country to death right in front of our eyes. No oil, no fuel, no nothing allowed in, okay? And the whole point here is to torture them and torture them and torture them in the hopes that there'll be an uprising, there will be regime change, and then they'll put a puppet leader in that, again, then Trump can turn Cuba back into Epstein's playground, the Epstein class playground. That's what he wants to do. But he's bragging in front of the world about starving an entire nation illegally. Starving an entire nation illegally. That's what he's doing right here.
Did he say starving a nation? That's horrible. That is not good. Oh, God, you're cutting mommy's hair.
Last time.
Here, cut it.
Because I was thinking about, last time I had to tangle my hair. Last time.
Don't cut your hair.
Last time I tangled my hair, Mommy.
Yeah.
I just want to cut your hair with my knee.
Oh.
I want to do workshops. I want to be a workshop. So I want to work at the workshop and cut your hair. Because I want to work at the workshop.
You're going to cut my hair?
Yeah.
Depravity is off the charts. The fascism meter is literally breaking. Okay. All right. More. Here we go.
And it's so good that we got to know so many of you. I mean, we're so many.
By the way, I know the microphone sounds fucked up. That's the microphone at the event.
And I'd love to get to your countries at some point. Marco loves going to your countries. He's always at one of these countries. He likes your countries the best. Okay. You know, where are you? I'm in I'm in Chile. Oh, good. How's Chile doing? Good. He likes it. He feels very calm. We all like him, right? It helps. He's got a language. He's got a language advantage over me because I'm not learning a damn language. I don't have time. I was okay with languages, but I'm not going to spend time learning a language. That much I won't do. Just give me a good interpreter. Interpreter, very important. And I know if somebody's good. I may not speak the language, but I know I had an interpreter recently that wasn't good, talking to a very strong person from a different part of the world. And I could tell, even though I don't speak the language, I could tell the interpreter was not good.
So he's totally off script, completely babbling about God knows what. Clearly sundowning, not functioning well, eyes 90% closed. Lord only knows what medicine he's on. He's got the rash on his neck. He looks like he's rotting right in front of us, rotting alive, rotting to death. He's got the bruises on his hand. This is not good, y'all. This is not good. He's falling apart as the world is falling apart. Then we have Secretary of War Crimes, Pete Kegsbreath, and he comes up and delivers a little white nationalist hoorah for everybody.
We don't have to live with communities flooded with drugs or violence or cartels and gangs. We can seal our border, and we have to for our citizens. We share a hemisphere and geography. We share cultures, Western Christian civilization. We share these things together. We have to have the courage to defend it. And we have a commander-in-chief in our country who's set that compass heading.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not just this is a white nationalist foghorn. This is not a dog whistle. This is a white nationalist foghorn. And we're currently witnessing what happens when there are no guardrails and these people go all in. And in this part, Secretary of War Crimes Pete Kegsbreath can't help but humiliate himself. Listen to what he says here.
Is he better in Spanish or in English? I think he's better in Spanish. I mean, it's great. Pete, please.
Mr. President, I only speak American.
Oh, Lord help us. This is the guy who's ushering us into World War III as we speak. A guy who wrote a book titled American Crusade and famously said, kill all Muslims. Okay? Absolutely terrifying. Look at this. In the Washington Post, DOJ officials push for cases against Cuban leaders as Trump eyes regime change. So as I pointed out 1,000 times, Cuba is next. I wouldn't be surprised if they start bombing in Cuba any fucking day now. Okay? But Jim Stewartson says, Trump now thinks he has a pipeline for taking over any country he wants. He gets a prosecutor to indict the leaders, and SEAL Team 6 plucks them out of the Capitol. He will keep doing it. He is unable to process any downside. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I keep telling you, we're witnessing the creation of the Fourth Reich. Donald Trump is trying to expand the footprint of the United States of America. That's why he talks about stealing Greenland, talks about stealing Panama, already did regime change in Venezuela and is stealing their oil, now trying to do the same thing in Cuba. He's trying to create what's called, it used to be called the Technate of America. That's what Donald Trump is creating. Expanding America's footprint, manifest destiny. Okay? And the Israelis are trying to create a greater Israel at the same time. You put those two together, we are in the midst of witnessing the creation of the Fourth Reich. Terrifying thing here from Jim Stewartson, and I think a very poignant analysis. At the same time all this is happening, look at this. We have some local news saying, happening now, Oakdale middle schoolers are protesting ICE, Trump, and the attacks on Iran. And then they say here, never seen anything like this in my life. The signs they're holding that are calling Trump a pedophile are censored by local news stations. Yes, and this is part of the problem, is the media fucking sucks. They're not telling you the truth. They're not being honest. They're not giving you real information. Everything is like fucking softened and the rough edges are being taken off. And people don't understand the dire situation that we're currently in. And shame on them. Shame on them for leaving it up to asshole YouTubers like me to fucking fill the void and actually give people real information. All right. Daily Mail also says this. This is big. Donald Trump accused of hitting a schoolgirl who refused to carry out a sex act on him in bombshell new Epstein files claim. So, understand something. We now know, as a matter of fact, the FBI interviewed Katie Johnson. Now, Katie Johnson is her alias, but she's had the same story consistent for years. The FBI interviewed her 3 or 4 times, and they said, we found her credible. The issue they ran into is she basically didn't want to proceed because she was scared of what would happen to her, and she felt like the statute of limitations is probably gone anyway. But she doesn't want her life to be derailed by the Epstein class or Trump. Perhaps she was threatened, but this is the Katie Johnson story, and now we have further verification of it. The FBI talked to her 3 or 4 times, and they thought she was credible. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Type in Secular Talk Katie Johnson into the YouTube search bar and watch the full video. We did a full video breaking down her testimony. In the past, she had given a testimony in about 2016, and then she ended up suing Epstein and Trump. She ended up dropping the case either because she was paid off or because she was threatened, okay? But Her story's been consistent all these years. We go through her whole story. She says it in her own words. We react to it in real time. Go watch that, because now everybody's talking about the Katie Johnson story, because there's further validation that this indeed happened, that Donald Trump was getting oral sex from a 13-year-old girl, and she hit her. He hit her when she bit him, and there's all sorts of nightmare stories that she gives that we go through in detail. So you have that, and as promised, it sooner rather than later, we're going to do a Sasha Riley breakdown as well. That has not come out in any more specific detail in the Epstein files, but there's enough there where I feel like we should break it down and we should talk about it. So this is a big deal. We also have this. According to a newly released email in the Epstein files, a porn star mentioned, quote, Trump said I reminded him of Ivanka after sexed. She is the second child of Donald Trump, by the way. So as you can see here, it's the subject of this email from Richard Kahn to Jeffrey Epstein. Trump said, I reminded him of Ivanka after sex. And it was a New York Post article that says that Jeffrey Epstein was sharing this behind the scenes, or his friend was sharing it with him. Okay. Stop and think about that. And we've all seen the terrifying video of Ivanka in her bedroom, right? The bedroom where she grew up, and she was in there for a documentary, and they're recording her, and she has this terrified look on her face looking at the bed where she grew up. I won't say anything else, but I'll let you connect the dots here. But absolutely horrifying what we're talking about. All right, New York Post says, prison guard Googled Jeffrey Epstein minutes before his body was found and deposited thousands days before the pedophile's suicide, according to the DOJ. The prison guard Googled latest on Epstein in jail at 5:42 a.m. and then again at 5:52 a.m., approximately 1 hour before Epstein's death. Good googly moogly, y'all. Oh, my word. As I said, people are speculating, hey, is he alive?
I want to see that video he just mentioned about the girl that said that Trump slapped her. Didn't he say he had a video? Put a 1 in the chat if you heard that. Hi, Annabelle. Hello. Yes. It's going down. Okay. So I need to find it because I want to see it. Don't you want to see that?
Alive? He could be alive. He could have been transferred out. Either that or, of course, he was murdered by the regime. But what didn't happen was a suicide. I repeat, what didn't happen was a suicide. Okay? I want to end on this one here. I got to give you guys this. So the Associated Press says the following. Attempted suicides, fights, disease, hunger, dozens of calls to 911, and interviews with detainees offer a disturbing portrait of conditions at the nation's largest U.S. immigrations and custom enforcement detention facility. Ladies and gentlemen, we call these concentration camps because that's what they actually are. They're not detention facilities. That gives it a veneer of seriousness. These are concentration camps, and they're building 23 of them. They're building 23 of them, okay? And then we also have, quote, bets made among the staff over which detainee would be next to die by suicide. Detainee says guards bet on suicide. That's what we're looking at. That's how depraved the conditions are. We talked about when they illegally rounded up a bunch of innocent immigrants with no criminal record and sent them to CCOT, the concentration camp in El Salvador. And there are specific stories of people there being tortured and raped, okay? Specific stories. A lot of people looked at that and said, oh my God, that's horrifying. That's crazy. Obviously, if they were kept here, stuff like that wouldn't happen. I'm not so sure anymore. I am not so sure. People are getting their human rights violated on a daily basis. They have medical needs. They're not being given their pills. They're being rejected from going to see the doctor or go to the hospital until, they pass out. There's been over 40 people that have died in ICE custody. There's like way too many people in one cell, too many of them using one toilet, unsanitary conditions. People are going hungry. They're eating food with fucking worms in them and mold in them. This is what we're talking about. These are concentration camps, ladies and gentlemen. These are concentration camps. And by the way, it's not just undocumented immigrant violent criminals who are being sent there. There's all kinds of legal immigrants. And also, sooner rather than later, there will be American citizens who are just dissidents. There will be. Just like we've already seen people who are here legally get deported for making a joke about Charlie Kirk, or people who are here legally getting deported for criticizing the the Israeli genocide in Gaza. Okay, I'm telling you, all bets are off. The Constitution is no longer in effect. This is a criminal, rogue regime, a fascist, imperialist, bloodthirsty regime. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They're on their fucking global crime spree. All they care about is, basically looting and pillaging and plundering and getting more wealth for the Epstein class. At the same time, they wage a crusade and try to steal more territory. It's an absolute horrible thing to look at. Down with the billionaires. Down with the warmongers, and down with the fascists. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, guys. I wanted to show the video of Donald Trump, the
Well,
girl
now socialite
allegedly.
Prince Andrew's former girlfriend.
I'm going to put this in my folder. Yep, it's in there. All right, guys, I'm out of here. That's all I had. I wanted to, oh, wait.
Hello, everybody. It's a very sad day, and glad we paid our respects. It's a tough situation. Great people, great parents, wives, family. And a beautiful ceremony. I guess you got to see that. At least any questions?
President Trump, did what you just witnessed make you think differently about going ahead with this war or even putting troops on the ground in the Middle East?
We're winning the war by a lot. We've decimated their whole evil empire. It'll continue, I'm sure, for a little while. But very proud of the people, the parents. The parents were so proud of their boy, as they call it, my boy, in case the young lady. The parents are so proud. Many of them are military parents, as you know. So but it's always a very sad thing. The war itself is going unbelievably. It's as good as it can be. We have Pete here, and you have Steve Witkoff here. We have some additional questions.
You're 1 week in now, sir. You're 1 week in at this point. How long, as of now, do you expect?
Well, I think we've accomplished more in 1 week than anyone thought possible. We've wiped out their Navy, 44 ships. We've wiped out their Air Force, every plane. We've wiped out most of their missiles. You see, the missiles aren't coming much anymore. We've also hit their manufacturing areas where they make the missiles very hard. Their drone capacity is way down. And we've hurt them where it hurts, including about every form of leadership you can have, we've wiped out.
You still expect up to 6 weeks total?
I don't know. I never reject that, whatever it takes. But the military is almost non-existent, if you look. We could hit the military itself very hard, but maybe we will, maybe we won't. We haven't made that determination.
What do you think about gas prices right now? Are you worried about gas prices right now?
No. This is a short excursion into something that should have been done for 47 years. 47 years it's taken to do this, and no president had the guts to do it.
You know, you're going to end up coming back to Dover for more of these such dignified transfers.
Sure, I hate to do it, but it's a part of war, isn't it? Who are you with?
The Washington Post.
When you say it's part of war?
The deaths are part of war, yeah.
It's part of war. It's a sad part of war. It's the bad part of war.
Hi, good morning.
Did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
Based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hickson? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still
But
investigating.
the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
We think it was done. We think it was done by Iran. Because they're very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions. They have no accuracy whatsoever. It was done by Iran.
Can you give us an idea of what unconditional surrender looks like to you? What do you want from Iran?
I said unconditional, not conditional. I said unconditional. It's where they cry uncle, or when they can't fight any longer and there's nobody around to cry uncle. That could happen too, because we've wiped out their leadership numerous times already. So it's if they surrender, or if there is nobody around to surrender, but they're rendered useless in terms of military.
Mr. President, can I ask you, Peter asked you a question yesterday. He said it wasn't the right time in that event. But he was asking whether you have indications of whether Russia is supporting Iran somehow in this.
No, I have had no indication of that whatsoever. If they are, they're not doing a very good job, because Iran is not doing too well.
What about the Strait of Hormuz? There's no traffic really going through it.
Well, that's the ship's choices, but we haven't cleaned out. We've wiped out their Navy. The Navy is now at the bottom of the sea, so that's the choice. this is an excursion. We figured oil prices would go up. We say, well, they'll also come down. They'll come down very fast, and we will have gotten rid of a major cancer on the face of the earth. We will have taken out a cancer. Don't forget October 7th. Don't forget all of the things that have happened over the years, all caused by these people. So what we're doing is a great thing, not only for our country, and not only for Israel, not only for the Middle East, but for the world.
Secretary Bessent announced some moves to temporarily allow certain Russian oil sales to India. Are you considering any other moves, including the SPR?
Well, if there were some, I would do it just to take a little of the pressure off. But I think that the oil pressure, but there's a lot of oil. We've got a lot of oil. Our country has a tremendous amount, and there's a lot of oil out there. That'll get healed very quickly.
Would you consider using the SPR or tapping into the SPR at some point?
Strategic reserve?
Yeah.
Well, I'm the one that built them up. Biden used them so that he could get some extra.
Okay. Okay. All right, guys. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for coming, and to be continued. Thank you for joining me. Bye to love. Breaking news: U.S. Embassy is Norway has been attacked. Oh, wait a minute. It must be just coming out because I don't have anything on it. Thank you for the breaking news. I appreciate that. Okay, guys, listen. Until tomorrow. Bye, Shanoa. Bye, to love. Bye, her. Bye, Pickles. Bye, Kamari. Bye, Cassandra. Bye, Dilla. Bye, Debbie. Bye, Lisa. Good night, everyone.